I was just thinking of something, so give me just 2 seconds. I'll find it. I don't know if I've used this. It came up in a lesson we heard this weekend. I thought it was. Let me see if I can find it. Oh yeah. So the 2 men who were walking to Emmaus, where Jesus showed up walking with them, and they didn't know who he was at first. Until their eyes had been opened through the breaking of the bread, which I've used that before with the Lord's Supper and stuff. And let's see. But Jesus, this was a comment made about this. We look at this story kind of as a good thing, but David, who was given the lesson, pointed this out, and I never looked at it this way. But it was a negative point for these 2 men. It says, "Oh foolish men." Oh, I'm sorry. Luke 24. Thank you. Luke 24, verse 25. And he said to them, Jesus said to these 2 men, after walking with them some ways, "O foolish men and slow of heart to believe, in all that the prophets have spoken, was it not necessary for Christ to suffer these things and to enter into his glory?" And then it made me think too, of the eunuch and how he came to believe in Jesus Christ. And it was from the Old Testament on. And actually at that point, all they would have had was the Old Testament. They wouldn't have actually had written New Testament language then, which I'm sure some of that was explained. But, these old prophecies, these old stories of these prophets, laid out for us are important, we should view them as important to us today as well. And I know, like Amos, I felt like we kind of got bogged down a little bit with that, and I'll try to not get to that point again because some of it is repetitive. But I think we just need to remember that all of God's text is important, and these old prophecies or these old prophets and some of the prophecy that they shared through inspiration, we need to understand that they are important and that they, even today, play a role. If we're having conversations with someone about conversion or about believing in Christ, we can go back to these and we can show them as proof of the foretelling of Jesus and what he was coming to do, and even, show how everything that was prophesied in these accounts have come true, to show, to prove God, to prove Jesus. So we need to remember that when we're speaking to someone. Hey, let's go back a little bit. Let's start over the way it was or the way it used to be, and let's work our way forward. And then maybe that will help people have a better understanding, a full understanding of God and his intentions and who he has been and who he is. So anyway, it's just a thought I had. All right, Obadiah. I like Obadiah. Obadiah's just been one of my favorite prophets, minor prophets. It just is. I think the message that it gives resonates with me, and that's probably why. And that's probably it. It's a really short book. It's a chapter, not a book. I don't know how you want to view that. But it is short. But it is short and sweet to the point, and it is full of information. So what I'll do right now is we'll just read 1 through 4. We're not going to get through a lot of text tonight. I want to go into the background of Obadiah and his message and who it's going through, and then even talk some about the background of those people, the Edomites, or Edom, if you will, because there's a lot of information there that is important to understanding what Obadiah is saying to this group of people and how they fit into God's story. So let's just read 1 through 4, and then we'll start with our study. This is Obadiah now, not Amos. The vision of Obadiah. Thus says the Lord God concerning Edom. We have heard a report from the Lord and an envoy that has been sent among the nations, saying, Arise and let us go against her for battle. Behold, I will make you small among the nations. You are greatly despised. The arrogance of your heart has deceived you. You who live in the clefts of the rock, in the loftiness of your dwelling place, who say in your heart, Who will bring me down to earth? Though you build high like the eagle, though you set your nest among the stars, from there I will bring you down, declares the Lord. So Edom is known, and we'll get into that, of being a very proud people. They were also at times noted as being very wise, a wise people. We'll get into some of that later. One of the things I do want to point out, and we'll go to Jeremiah just briefly, if you will, with me. Jeremiah 49. And I don't think there's another occurrence where two texts mirror themselves quite like this. Maybe there is, and I just missed it. That's possible. But Jeremiah 49 and Obadiah are almost mirror images of one another. It's really remarkable how close they are. All right, Jeremiah, starting in verse 7, chapter 49. It says, concerning Edom, thus the Lord of hosts, is there no longer any wisdom in Teman? Has good counsel been lost to the prudent? Has their wisdom decayed? Flee away, turn back, dwell in the depths, O inhabitants of Dedan. For I will bring the disaster of Esau upon him at the time I punish him. If grape gatherers come to you, would you not leave gleanings? If thieves came by night, they would destroy only until they had enough. But I, God, have stripped Esau bare. I have uncovered his hiding places so that he will not be able to conceal himself. His offspring has been destroyed among his relatives and his neighbors, and he is no more. So God's saying, look, even if a thief came in, a thief's going to leave something. I remember as a little kid, I came home. Actually, it was me and my brother. We were at the Sitters across the street or whatever, and the front door was wide open. And we're like, why'd Dad leave the front door open? Well, it wasn't. Somebody broke down the front door and stole, a camcorder and a VCR, all the stuff people used to steal. But they left a whole house full of furniture and all kinds of stuff. And that's the point being made here. If it was a thief coming in, they would leave you something. If it was someone coming in to gather grapes in the vineyard, they would leave gleanings. And God's saying, I'm not going to leave anything. It will all be gone. And we see that one of the commentaries or something, one of the writers I read, and I'll read this later, but he actually kind of brings up something that happened later on after Christ's return, where eventually the Edomites were done away with. So that does come to fruition. Let's see.
The Edomites, they've been Israel's longest standing enemy, if you would.
Yeah, that's right.
Because over back to the days of Jacob and Esau being the father of the Edomites,
right.
They had been a conflict with Jacob for eons of time.
Yeah. We'll read some of those texts tonight where it's constant battle, kind of like Samaria.
And the Edomites didn't show mercy towards the Israelites.
No, that's right. They did. Yeah, you're right, 100%. Yeah, it was a bitter relationship, to put it mildly. I mean, they did not like each other for sure. Obadiah is the writer here. What does Obadiah mean? No?
Servant of the Lord, worshiper of God.
Worshiper, Yahweh, servant of Yahweh. That's right. How many accounts of Obadiah or different Obadiahs are there in the Bible? There's bunch. I'll give you a clue.
What?
How many Obadiahs are named in the Bible? 13.
Okay.
13 Obadiahs. Some of the accounts may actually be the same Obadiah, but so anyway. So there's 13 accounts of someone named Obadiah in the Old Testament. One of the accounts, let's go to 1 Kings. 1 Kings 18. I'm not going to read all 13, don't worry. That would take way too long. We'll just get to a couple. 1 Kings 18:3. It says, let's see. Ahab called Obadiah, who was over the household. Now Obadiah feared the Lord greatly, for when Jezebel destroyed the prophets of the Lord, Obadiah took 100 prophets and hid them. I think we should be pretty familiar with that Obadiah and what he did there with the Jezebel situation. Let's see. And Obadiah was sent out by King Jehoshaphat of Judah to teach the law in the cities of Judah. That's in 2 Chronicles 17:7. And we'll see that one again here later for good reason, I think. Another account of an Obadiah was one of the overseers who helped repair the temple in the days of Josiah, king of Judah. That is in 2 Chronicles 34:12. And let's see, we have an Obadiah who was a priest in the days of Nehemiah 10:5. I made a little note, and only the younger people would get this, but I made a note. Will the real Obadiah please stand up?
I was going to say, you're not saying these are not the same ones.
No, they're not. No, yeah, they're different Obadiahs. And that's the point of the comment, will the real Obadiah please stand up? Have you heard that before?
Well,
It's a different deal, yeah. Yeah, okay, all right. That's what made me think of that. So there are a bunch of Obadiahs, they are different. And so which one is the real Obadiah, or which one is the Obadiah that we're dealing with is the question. And we'll answer that hopefully later.
And they were all called Obadiah because of what Obadiah meant.
I think that's the significance of that. I don't know for sure, but it would make sense that that's what it is. It's the significance of the name. And, you know, if you remember maybe studying or hearing a lesson about even like God's names or Jesus's names, what they meant, people back then, their names often meant something. Esau was, we'll see, was...
One thing unique about this Obadiah writing this book is he doesn't give any heritage. He gives no family traits whatsoever.
Yeah, he places no emphasis of that.
In this particular Obadiah, he puts no personal information at all in the book.
That's right.
You know, many of the other prophets, he talked about his hometown or his lineage or who he was fathered, you know.
Yeah.
This Obadiah is very unique in that fact.
Yeah, I think what we'll be able to see though, the real Obadiah, we'll be able to decipher that through time frames and events that were going on at a certain time. We don't know for sure, but you can deduce by looking at other events in that time frame who the real Obadiah was. And hopefully we'll get to that. No, sorry, I thought that was funny. That's the first thing that came to my mind. Will the real Obadiah was. All right. So what is one thing you can think of that is unique about Obadiah's prophecy that you cannot say is true about other minor prophets? And it's one of the important points of what a prophet does. What does a prophet do? They go and
they reveal the mind of God
to a particular group.
to particular people.
Okay.
And if you take it depends on how you date it. If you look at the date of 586 or in that generation, this particular Obadiah is going to offer comfort to the exiles of Judah that scattered around among the nations.
Okay.
I mean, if you take the other writing, which is 800 something, which is about 300 years difference there, depends on how you look at it.
Okay. Well, the big deal is who he's speaking to here. He's speaking to Edom. He's not speaking to Israel or Judah.
Okay.
Other prophets, like Amos we just read, speaks of other nations around Israel or Judah, whichever one it is, and they will cast judgments on those people as well. But most of the time, it is almost always to Israel or Judah, the main message. Well, this prophet, his main message is to Edom. It's not to Israel or Judah. And you'll even see in some of the language where the Lord, and this is why I have it. So I have, the big note to me at the end of Obadiah is don't kick your brother when he's down. Right? So God makes a point to tell Obadiah throughout the book of Obadiah, hey, when you see the calamity that is taking place in Judah or Israel, don't you laugh at them. Don't you go in and steal from them. Don't you, take what's left from them. God sending the message to Edom, you don't kick your brother while he's down, and that has always stood out with me. And again, it's probably just me, a message that speaks to me, but he makes a point to tell Edom, when you see all this calamity going on, don't you think it's an opportunity for you to go and get some spoils? Because that's not the case. And then, he unleashes through Obadiah against Edom as well. All right, so we talked about, Edgar brought up about names, being the significance of names, and that was a good point. What does Esau mean? Esau was named for his, right? He was the heel grabber. What does Esau mean? Red. Esau means red. That's where he got his name. His red hair. Red, yeah. Yeah. Okay. I probably have too, but I forgot until I read it today. So anyway, that's the significance of his name. Let's see. So the Edomites, as already said, are descendants from Esau, who was the son of Isaac and Rebekah, and a brother of Jacob. We remember the story there with Jacob and his mother. What they do? They tricked his daddy, Isaac, into thinking that Jacob was Esau. So Jacob would get the inheritance and Esau would not, right? And that created this, basically, honestly, created this whole situation that we see in front of us now.
I think that's where the Edomites became the enemy of God.
It is.
That's when they parted out.
Yeah, that led to that. Absolutely. Right. So look what sin did. Look what sin did to two brothers or a family. And look at the results that have come from that. Now, this is probably God's design, but it doesn't change the fact that sin created this environment that we see play out for us. If I don't see you and you have your hand raised, it's because I'm looking down. Just say my name. All right. So Esau was nicknamed because of his red hair. Let's see. Esau eventually settled in the area of Mount Seir, and they actually absorbed the people known as the Horites. That can be read in Genesis chapter 36, verses 8 through 43. Did I say that right? Horites. I don't know how else to say that. So if I said it wrong, I'm sorry. And so here what I'm trying to do is lay out the history of Edom and the Edomites so that we can understand what's going on in context. So that's really a big focus of tonight. Let's see. Let's go to Numbers chapter 20.
You may make the point later on. And something else that I found unique about the Edomites and Edom, in Deuteronomy the 23rd chapter and verse 7, God tells us, "You shall not abhor an Edomite, for he is your brother."
You should say that again.
God instructed in Deuteronomy the 23rd chapter about those days of congregation. Deuteronomy 23 and 7, "You shall not abhor an Edomite, for he is your brother."
Right. Yeah.
Jacob, they knew there was blood there.
Right.
And in that context, he tells them. And then back over there, would you go to 2 Chronicles 20?
Yes. No, Numbers 20.
Numbers 20.
Yeah. Numbers 20. And so there was blood there. I didn't have that verse, but that's actually really good to point out there. And it might also speak to the reason why God actually sent a prophet to them. I don't know that for sure. There's nothing in the text that states that. But I think it's significant that of all the outlying people or groups of people, God chose to send a prophet to Edom, where he did not. Of course, the other ones were mentioned here and there in other prophecies, but I mean, God actually sent a prophet to Edom. All right, Numbers chapter 20. Let's see. Numbers 20, starting verse 14, I'll read through 21. From Kadesh, Moses then sent messengers to the king of Edom, Thus your brother Israel has said, you know all the hardship that has befallen us, that our fathers went down to Egypt, and we stayed in Egypt a long time. And the Egyptians treated us and our fathers badly. But when we cried out to the Lord, he heard our voice and sent up an angel and brought us out from Egypt. Now behold, we are at Kadesh, a town on the edge of your territory. Please let us pass through your land. We will not pass through field or through vineyard. We will not even drink water from the well. We will go along the king's highway, not turning to the right or to the left until we pass through your territory. See, where was I going to go? 21. And Edom, however, said to him, you shall not pass through us, for I will come out with the sword against you, against the sons of Israel, against you. And again the sons of Israel said to him, we will go up by the king's highway, and if I and my livestock do drink of any of your water, then I will pay its price. Let me only pass through. And of course, ultimately Edom said, no, you can't pass through here. Didn't give them permission to pass through. So kind of that is like a sign or, an example of Edom and Israel's troubled past. And they did indeed have troubled past. Let's see, the Edomites opposed Saul. They opposed Saul and were conquered under David and Solomon. That can be read in 1 Samuel and 2 Samuel and 1 Kings 9:26, which we won't go there. In the days of King Jehoshaphat of Judah, Edom joined with Moab and Ammon to attack Judah, but the Lord fought for Judah and defeated them, and that can be found in 2 Chronicles chapter 20, verses 1 through 27. Let's go there, actually, because that's a good place to go. 2 Chronicles chapter 20. And that was a real famous battle. I think we'll remember why when we get there in a minute. 14 through 27. I won't read all that.
There in 2 Chronicles 20, verse 10, there were people of Ammon, Moab, and Mount Seir, whom you would not let Israel invade when they came out of the land of Egypt. God protected these Edomites.
Right.
When they, in this particular battle here, when Ammon, Moab, and Seir were defeated, God's hand of protection was upon these Edomites. And it makes me stop and think, was he going to use those Edomites to keep Jacob in control?
Yeah, I don't know, maybe. Yeah. Maybe. And if you read, like when we get down here just a little, in 2 Kings 8, 2 Kings 14, 2 Chronicles 28, there's a back and forth going here where the Edomites successfully rebelled against King Jehoram of Judah. King Amaziah of Judah brought them back under subjection, 2 Kings 14. And then 2 Chronicles 28, the Edomites again attacked Judah in the days of King Ahaz. I'm not going to read this. I know we turned to that. But this battle here, this famous battle, was led with praise. Let's see. 14, then in the midst of the assembly, the Spirit of the Lord came upon Jehaziel, the son of Zechariah, the son of Benaiah, the son of Jeiel, the son of Mattaniah, the Levite of the sons of Asaph. And he said, listen, all Judah and the inhabitants of Jerusalem, the King Jehoshaphat, thus says the Lord to you, do not fear or be dismayed because of this great multitude. For the battle is not yours but God's. Tomorrow go down against them. Behold, they will come up by the ascent of Ziz, and you will find them at the end of the valley in front of the wilderness of Jeruel. You need not fight in this battle. Station yourselves, stand and see the salvation of the Lord on your behalf. O Judah and Jerusalem, do not fear or be dismayed. Tomorrow go out and face them, for the Lord is with you. Jehoshaphat bowed his head with all his face to the ground, and all of Judah and the inhabitants of Jerusalem fell down before the Lord, worshiping the Lord. The Levites from the sons of the Kohathites and of the sons of the Korahites stood up to praise the Lord God of Israel with a very loud voice. Let's see. Let's not read all that. 24. Sorry. When Judah came to the lookout of the wilderness, they looked forward with the multitude, and behold, there were corpses lying on the ground, and no one had escaped. When Jehoshaphat and his people came to take their spoil, they found much among them, including goods. So basically, God won this great war against partly the Edomites, who had ganged up on Judah to attack Judah, and so God was against the Edomites that day. But there was a back and forth, as I previously stated, with the Edomites. So this back to the parallel we read in Jeremiah, where he said, if I was a thief, or if there was a thief, he'd leave something. If someone came to take your grapes, they would leave a gleaning. God referring there to, hey, when I come through, there's not going to be anything left. One historian states that, and I didn't find any other reference to this, but that the Edomites, they were actually still around during Jesus' day and actually fought with the Jews in the rebellion against Rome in AD 66 to 70. But they were actually crushed by Rome, never to be heard of again as a people. So the writer's remarks, the historian's remarks is that this is actually the time where the Edomites disappeared for all eternity. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. But it was interesting to read that. Yes, sir.
Ezekiel talks about Ezekiel 35, about the figures not here. And I think that's probably the ending of the Edomites as far as the prophecy is concerned.
Yeah.
And that's in Ezekiel 35, all 15 verses basically of that chapter, talks about they reap what they sow. Right. And they eventually disappeared from history. I didn't realize that they were comrades of the Romans in Jesus' day.
Yeah, and I don't know if it was the actual Edomites, or it was just leftover people of some sort.
I thought they had long since been banished or been destroyed by that point.
Yeah, I don't know. I just thought it was interesting that historian had stated that. Let's see. Oh, okay. Obadiah. Back to Obadiah, 10 through 14. I don't want to read that whole thing. Let's see. Oh, so it was kind of a vague argument about who the real Obadiah was. And some of the text in Obadiah points to the 2 Chronicles 7:17 Obadiah, where Obadiah was sent out by King Jehoshaphat of Judah to teach the law in the cities of Judah. That was in 2 Chronicles. We don't know for sure if that was the real one or not, but some events that mirror up to Obadiah kind of point to that. So let's see. All right, we'll get into Obadiah maybe. I thought that would take longer. Are there any other comments about the Edomites or
this may be a
the history?
I look at Obadiah as it clearly shows that God's in control of the history. God sets things as He wants them set.
Yeah, that's right.
Man can't change it. Right. And the Edomites is a good example of that. It's a lesson for all of us in that regard.
Right. Okay. All right. Obadiah. So this is the vision of Obadiah that says the Lord God concerning Edom. We have heard a report from the Lord, and an envoy has been sent among the nations, saying, Arise and let us go against her for battle. He says, I will make you small among the nations. You are greatly despised. The arrogance of your heart has deceived you, you who lived in the cleft of the rocks. So the Edomites was a very small nation. They may have not, by some other accounts, have or had like big palaces or those kinds of things, but they were a well-secured community, being in the rocks. It was very hard to get to them. It would have been very hard probably to defeat them on their own territory. And I think what's being said here, verse 3, it says, the arrogance of your heart has deceived you, you who live in the cleft of the rocks. So you can imagine them being in a position of security, physical security. Other armies can't come in and attack you. There's no real good way to get to you to make a full-scale attack. And with that, you would have a sense of security, which I think is probably okay. But I think the language bears out that they had become arrogant or haughty because of this. They thought they were untouchable. Nobody, that's right, Anthony, nobody could touch them. And I think they even, then the insinuation is that even God, like, who is going to bring us down from this place? Right? And they lived their lives that way, very prideful and arrogant. And, those things over time grow and become worse and worse and worse. You might just felt secure in one day, hey, no one can come attack us here physically. But then as time goes on, that evolves into something where you believe maybe you're above God. And the correlation to us in our lives, we can be the same, we can have the same arrogance, the same pride, right? We've had good jobs our whole life. We have a nice place, maybe a gun safe with a bunch of guns. I don't know, whatever it is to you, and it's different for everyone. But you get to the point where that's your security blanket. You're cleft in the rocks, your big home, your gun safe full of bullets and guns, or your food storage, or whatever it is. To you, that's your God. That becomes your God. That becomes what you rely on for your protection and for your safety and your security. And you replace God. That's what the Edomites done here. They have replaced God with the rocks, with these mountains that they lived in. And they forgot who truly is their protector. And we've talked and we went back and forth, there's been periods of time where the Edomites were protected by God. Because they were sin relative, or blood relatives, but they let that go, and they kind of felt like maybe they were doing it on their own, and that's why they were at where they were at. Let's see. Yeah, so this version says pride, this version says arrogance, same thing. It says, in the loftiness of your dwelling place, I should have read that with the other one, who say in your heart, who will bring me down to earth? We talked about that. Though you build high like the eagle, though you set your nest among the stars, God says, from there I will bring you down, declares the Lord. And then it goes into this language that paralleled what we read in Jeremiah earlier, but verse 5, if thieves came to you, if robbers by night, how you will be ruined. Would they not steal only until they had enough? If grape gatherers came to you, would they not leave some gleanings? And again, the argument is there that there would be something left over. Let's see. I think the point about the eagle's nest, if we look at that, eagles build their nest way high up on cliffs or mountain tops or something of that nature. And why do they do that? To protect their nest, to protect their young, right? They, in their mind, you know, you're at the pinnacle of the world, if you will. I mean, who's going to get you up there? And that's the same mentality that these Edomites would have had. Let's see. So they boasted in their natural defenses. The Edomites, there was an ancient city of Petra, once the capital city of Edom. Was said to have amazing defenses. The city was actually carved into a rock, accessible by a narrow canyon, almost a mile long. You read that before?
I've seen it on the History Channel.
Oh, really?
Where they found this place.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
So they actually show it on.
You've seen it on movies and didn't realize it. If you watched Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
And what was the one where they were searching for the one that Sean Connery was in? That place where they go there. That is it. That's Petra.
That's the entryway into Petra.
That's Petra where they actually.
Really?
Yes.
Okay. I'll have to look at pictures. I didn't look up a picture, but you know, just in the reading of the history. So and Anthony says they have a History Channel too.
Yeah, you can go to YouTube and look it up.
Okay. At the end of this canyon, or this long, narrow canyon that was approximately a mile long, there was a spectacular. It said that there was a spectacular city carved in stone, which was seemingly incapable of being conquered by an army. So if you can just imagine what it would take to get to that city to defeat it through this 1 mile long corridor. There was a movie called 300 or something, and there was like 300 men that defeated this big, huge Persian army, and it was fictitious. But they did it by protecting a very narrow entry point. And this would have been the same idea, right? You can't take an army through this, and you can only fight at the point of it, which is very small. So it would be really easy to defend this area with a small amount of people. So that you know, this is the point of this. This would be something that would have added to the reason why maybe they were an arrogant people or prideful people. They felt like nothing could take them out. And what God is saying to them here is that, you know, I'm going to take you out. No matter how high you build, no matter how secure you think you are, I can make you unsecure. I can bring you down. Let's see. So the Edomites also boasted in their wisdom, especially in the city of Teman. Was noted for their wisdom. Let's go to 1 Kings 4:30. I'll get there in a minute. Maybe. 1 Kings 4:30. Oh, so this is just a reference to Edom. But it says, Solomon's wisdom surpassed the wisdom of all the sons of the east and all the wisdom of Egypt. So the sons of the east is a reference to Edom. And I think the point that's being made here is it's significant that Solomon's wisdom exceeded the wisdom of the sons of the east. And that's Edom. So that just one thing that points out to the fact that they would have at one point been a group of people who, you know, had a significant were significantly wise. Jeremiah 49:7 says, "Is wisdom no more in Teman? Has counsel perished from the prudent? Has their wisdom vanished?" So that would have been, again, just another source of pride for the Edomites. One of the other things that's pointed out is the Edomites would have boasted, 1:7. Let's go back to Obadiah real quick. Oh yeah, verse 7. All the men allied with you will send you forth to the border. The argument is that the Edomites would have taken great pride in the fact that they had a bunch of alliances. And they would have trusted in these allies to help protect them. And it would have been the same thing like them feeling secure in the clefts of the rock, or in this great city Petra, where it could be defended really easy. They would have been prideful in the fact that, hey, we have all these other people on our side. Look at us. How in the world are you going to defeat us? And that would have just added to their arrogance or their pridefulness. Let's see. But the Lord God, He says, from there I will bring you down. Which is, we're going to stop there for tonight. I don't want to go forward anymore. I mainly wanted to introduce Obadiah tonight and kind of get into some of the history of the Edomites. I don't want to get too far into Obadiah.
Back to verse 1. What is the rumor that they heard from the Lord? What was that referring to? It says, we have heard a rumor from the Lord.
Yeah, so let's see. Mine says we have heard a report from the Lord. I think if you read farther down, it says, and a messenger has been sent among the nations, saying, arise and let us rise up against her for battle. I think it's just the text points to that there is negative language or a negative rumor about maybe the security of Edom.
Now, I was looking back in Amos, like Amos 1, when we first started that, where the Lord was not going to, like in verse 11, it says, thus said the Lord, for three transgressions of Edom, and for 4 I will turn away the punishment there, because you pursued your brother with sword.
Right. And it might be, yeah, that's the other thing too. It might be the rumors of what they've done, is what you're saying. Yeah, yeah, and that's a good point too. It might very well be that, as opposed to the one I said. So, Obadiah 1 through 4. We'll stop there tonight. Let me make sure I didn't miss anything. There was a lot here. I feel like I jumped over some of it. Okay, that's it. I won't be here next week. I have training in Denver. It's just that season at work. Oh yeah, I don't care to go there at all. So I'll need somebody to teach the class.
I'll take the class, and if we do, we'll be able to James.
Okay, and then when I get back, we'll start back up in Obadiah. I'll do a quick kind of like a refresher, and I haven't figured out how I'm going to do Obadiah, if it'll be a week or 2, but it'll probably be 2. So we'll get to that when I get back. Is there anything else to add? That was interesting that you actually saw that. I've never actually seen that on.
I can show you pictures.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'd like to look. The history of these prophets and books interests me a great deal.
The archaeology myself.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. I appreciate y'all's help and participation. Edgar, do you have a song?
Yeah, we'll sing first verse of 319, on yourself.
Here in a minute, we'll sing the first verse of 319. Walker, you mind closing us with a prayer after that? So I think the lesson for us, we're all Christians here except one, but the idea or the lesson that we can learn from what we've studied tonight is to not allow our surroundings or our comforts or our blessings, if you will, from God to be a hindrance to our faith. And what I mean by that is, God treats us as children. He loves us. I think it's safe to say we can expect from that love to have some good things. Obviously life brings bad things. It's just a fact. But I think overall, especially if we consider our lives in regards to other nations and other people. We have it really well. Even the worst of us has it really well. To not let that be a hindrance to obeying God, to not become arrogant or prideful in what we have, and get consumed by the thought that what we have is what protects us. Our house, our cars, our job, the amount of food we have in our pantry, or guns you have in a gun cabinet somewhere. Because ultimately what our protector, our defender is God. So much to the point that he even sent his own son to come to this earth and die on our behalf. So we have to remember that. It's nice to have nice things. It's nice to be secure. It's nice to be able to come here and worship together and not have to worry about somebody beating down the door. Those are all niceties. Those are blessings from God. The freedoms we enjoy. All those are great things, but they ought not be what we get our security from. That's the one thing that I've thought about in my life going through this study, is to remember who provides those blessings. Don't remember necessarily, or don't get lulled into thinking that the blessing is the God. It's not. It's just the gift from God. If there's anything that you need help with, we're always here to help, as I stated earlier. And if you will, please stand as we sing the first verse of 319.